Now, the doctrine of no soul, that is anatman or anatta in Buddhism. Buddhism maintains that since everything is conditioned and thus subject to anitya, that is impermanence, the question of Atman as a self-subsisting entity does not arise. Buddhism points out that anything that is impermanent is inevitably dukkha, that is suffering, and out of our control, that is anatman, and thus cannot constitute an ultimate self. According to Buddhism, beings and inanimate objects of the world are constituted, that is sanskrita, as distinguished from nirvana, which is unconstituted, that is asamskrita. The constituted elements are made up of the 5 skandhas, aggregates or building blocks of existence: the physical body roop, physical sensation vedana, sensory perception, that is sangya or sanya, habitual tendencies, that is sanskar or sankhar, and consciousness, that is vinyan or vigyan. The last 4 of these skandhas are also collectively known as nam, that is name, which denotes the non-material or mental constituents of a being. Roop represents materiality alone, and inanimate objects therefore are included in the term roop. A living being composed of 5 skandhas is in a continuous state of flux, each preceding group of skandhas giving rise to a subsequent group of skandhas. This process is going on momentarily and unceasingly in the present existence, as it will go on also in the future until the eradication of avidya, that is ignorance, and the attainment of nirvana. Thus, Buddhist analysis of the nature of the person centers on the realization that what appears to be an individual is in fact an ever-changing combination of the 5 skandhas. These aggregates combine in various configurations to form what is experienced as a person, just as a chariot is built of various parts. But just as the chariot as an entity disappears when its constituent elements are pulled apart, so does the person disappear with the dissolution of the skandhas. What we experience to be a person is not a thing but a process. There is no human being, there is only becoming. When asked who it is in the absence of a self that has feeling or other sensations, the Buddha's answer was that this question is wrongly framed. The question is not who feels, but with what as condition does feeling occur. The answer is contact, demonstrating again the conditioned nature of all experience and the absence of any permanent substratum of being. Just as the human being is analyzed into its component parts, so too is the external world with which one interacts. This interaction is one of consciousness, vinyan or vigyan, established through cognitive faculties, that is indriya, and their objects. These faculties and their objects, called spheres, that is ayatan, include both sense and sense object, the meeting of which two is necessary for consciousness. These 3 factors that together comprise cognition, that is the sense faculty, the sense object, and the resultant consciousness, are classified under the name dhatu, that is element. The human personality, including the external world with which it interacts, is thus divided into skandha, ayatan and dhatu. The generic name for all three of them is dharma, which in this context is translated as elements of existence. The universe is made up of a bundle of elements or forces, that is sanskaras, and is in a continuous flux or flow. Every dharma, though appearing only for a single instant, kshana, is a dependently originating element, that is, it depends for its origin on what had gone before it. Thus, existence becomes dependent existence where there is no destruction of one thing and no creation of another. Falling within the scheme, the individual is entirely phenomenal, governed by the laws of causality and lacking any extra phenomenal self within him or her. In the absence of an Atman, one may ask how Buddhism accounts for the existence of human beings, their destiny, their identity, continuity, and ultimately their religious goals. At the level of conventional truth, that is samvritti satya, Buddhism accepts that in the daily transactional world, humans can be named and recognized as more or less stable persons. However, at the level of the ultimate truth, Paramarth Satya, this unity and stability of personhood is only a sense-based construction of our productive imagination. What the Buddha encouraged is not the annihilation of the feeling of self, but the elimination of the belief in a permanent and eternal ghost in the machine. Thus, the human being in Buddhism is a concrete, living, striving creature, and his or her personality is something that changes, evolves, and grows. It is the concrete human, not the transcendental self, which ultimately achieves perfection by constant effort and creative will. The Buddhist doctrine of rebirth is different from the theory of reincarnation, which implies the transmigration of an Atman and its invariable material rebirth, as the process of one lifespan is possible without a permanent entity passing from one thought moment to another, so too is a series of life processes possible without anything transmigrating from one existence to another. An individual during the course of his or her existence is always accumulating fresh karma, affecting every moment of the individual's life. At death, the change is only comparatively deeper. The corporeal bond which held the individual together falls away, and his or her new body, determined by karma, becomes one fitted to that new sphere in which the individual is reborn. The last thought moment of this life perishes, conditioning another thought moment in a subsequent life. The new being is neither absolutely the same, since it has changed, nor totally different, being the same stream, santan, of karma energy. There is merely a continuity of a particular life flux, just that and nothing more. Buddhists employ various similes to explain this idea that nothing transmigrates from one life to another. For example, rebirth is said to be like the transmigration of a flame from one thing to another. The first flame is not identical to the last flame, but they are clearly related. The flame of life is continuous, although there is an apparent break at so-called death. As pointed out in the Milinda Panya, Questions of King Milinda, it is not the same mind and body that is born into the next existence, but with this mind and body, one does a deed and by reason of this deed, another mind and body is born into the next existence. The first moment of the next life is called consciousness. Its antecedents are the sankharas and the prenatal forces. There is a descent of the consciousness into the womb of the mother preparatory to rebirth, but this descent is only an expression to denote the simultaneousness of death and rebirth. In this way, the elements that constitute the empirical individual are constantly changing, but they will never totally disappear till the causes and conditions that hold them together and impel them to rebirth, the craving, that is Trishna, strong attachment, upadhan, and the desire for re-existence, that is bhav, are finally extinguished. In this lecture, I have basically described the worldview and the teachings of the Buddha. Thank you.